So, Title Update 5, otherwise known as the DC Outskirts, launched earlier this week. With it, we saw some updates to the skills, a couple new missions, and the expedition, as well as a handful of new gear. So let's jump into the weapons and the gear first. Alright, so we've got two new weapons. We got some sort of LMG and a AR, neither of which really seem to be influential, I guess you could say. They don't really seem like they're standing out as far as any specific aspect. The LMG has 200 rounds, but at the trade-off of low damage and low RPM, I don't see the benefit of that. It's not like you gain extra ammo for having that weapon. So I mean, you still have your limited ammo pool. You just have to reload less. I mean, I don't get it. I don't see a point in using that weapon. Maybe somebody else. Maybe they'll get more enjoyment out of it. The talent on it, especially being locked all the time, you're going to have to get that one active talent. It doesn't impress me. I don't care for it. What am I supposed to do? Like suppress every enemy and get a tiny boost of damage to all these enemies that are now hiding in cover? Like, what's the point of that? Anyway. The AR seems like it's a very stable, accurate version, but again, I don't think it's going to compete with the P416. Definitely not in PvP. Maybe in PvE it might be good, but honestly, in PvE, I really like my MK16, and I even kind of like the G36, to be honest with you. So I don't really see the point in having a slightly more accurate AR to replace my already well-adjusted weapons, right? But maybe I'll find one that I enjoy. Who knows? It does have a little bit higher RPM, but of course it also loses the damage. So it's kind of, again, it's a trade-off where it's not really anything super fantastic to worry about, right? Then you've got obviously the exotic rifle. Well, I think I'm not sure when that's going to fully unlock because you have to complete all the expeditions. So I haven't tried that out yet, and I wasn't on the PTS to try it out. Doesn't really seem like anything I'm going to be impressed with. It does not seem like it's going to be anything impressive in PvE. Just because trying to target a specific enemy all the time with constant rotating enemies every time you hit them, like, I don't know how useful that'll be. Enemies, that's already a problem, trying to like pin down one specific enemy. Generally, it's best if you just focus on whoever's open at the moment. So having I must target this enemy kind of thing is eh. After that, then we've got the BTSU gloves, which do seem interesting. At least they did before they launched them. From the PTS to now, their status effect duration took basically a 50% nerf. So you're only getting a plus 50% to your status effect duration. But all the status effects took a nerf as well. So making a status effect build is garbage. It's stupid. So BTSU gloves, I can't. I'm not inspired to really farm for them, and I hate the missions. So yeah, I don't really know where that's gonna go. Maybe I'll get them. Maybe. All right. So then that basically leaves us with the expeditions. Let's just. They don't really seem that interesting. Don't really care so much for the fact that this is the whole DLC. Like these expeditions are the bread and butter of the DLC, but there's not much there. It's like a very low rent underground from Division 1, except not as random. I mean, if you haven't tried it yet, you haven't seen it, you don't know the PTS. It's basically like they took a big ol' cut of I don't want to say big ol'. It's it's like they took like a city block, put different spots on the walls or panels or whatnot that could be randomly activated according to whatever run you're on. So basically, they could randomize the location of activation points, or they could randomize the location of things you need to activate, or things you need to open up, or chests or crates or whatever, and that's pretty much it. That doesn't really seem that good. It seems more like it's just this tactic to prolong very little content. I mean, we've already had that problem. We've had that problem since the beginning, where they released 90% of the content with the base game, and then it's just like a little trickle that's just very arbitrary. It's like, oh, we've bumped up to tier 5 now for no real reason except to do this stronghold for no real reason. They're just kind of incrementally bumping up things, and it's boring. It's stupid. I don't really care for expeditions because it's like, oh, here's kind of a mission that you get to do, and then in a week it'll unlock another part of it that you can kind of do, and then another week you can kind of do some more. It's disappointing. I'll just say it like that. It's pretty disappointing. I mean, I don't want to be negative about it, but it's just like, what is to be like? Is there something about it to be excited about? Like, is it really good to say like, oh, it's so great? I mean, yes, it's free. I get it. It is free in the sense that you didn't have to pay for this part, but you paid for the game, and this was included in it. So it's not really free. It's just something that they delayed giving us, right? Being delayed and giving it to us doesn't make it necessarily free of charge. It just means that they delayed giving it to us for the cost of what we paid. So anyone who says, well, it's free, you should be happy with it, technically it wasn't free because I paid for the game. They didn't just give it to us out of the kindness of their hearts. They kind of said that we were getting this ahead of time. For the value, I mean, when you include it in the base game, it's not a bad thing. Didn't have to pay for it. It's extra for it, which is great. I mean, I would be, if I had to pay extra for it, I would be incredibly upset. I mean, this is like worse than Destiny level DLC. I think the mechanics in the expedition are just kind of eh. I mean, there's nothing I'm going to get excited about. Like it's kind of like you took a raid, removed all the difficulty, and just had somebody going around hitting buttons. Basically, you're just there to look around. I don't know, I guess. I mean, it seems okay. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that very often. It literally requires you to go around looking in every single corner every time you do this same exact thing. That is not my idea of fun, right? It's not like it's a treasure hunt. You're getting the same junk that you did before. You're not really getting like solid upgrades. You're just getting maybe a kind of better piece, or maybe a piece for a different build. Like it's, you know what I'm saying. Like the game has a loot problem, and this doesn't help. Doesn't do anything about that. This game has a story problem. Expeditions does not do anything about the story problem. It's eh. Now, maybe there's something hidden in the back. Maybe it gets really good like at the very end of it. As of right now, the opening sequence to the expedition, unimpressive. All right, I'm gonna get off missions, things that I'm about, and talk about skills. If you're a PvE player, skills are much more improved in the most basic sense. I'm not trying to sound negative there, but like all they really did was improve damage, which is, I'm not going to say like they shouldn't have improved damage. I mean, skills are too weak. But let's be honest, guys. If you're a true skill build, you want skills for different purposes. You don't just want a one-shot seeker, one-shot this, one-shot this, one-shot this, one-shot this. That's just dumb. Like, I don't want everything to do the exact same thing, which is kind of what it feels like. They've ruined a lot of the diversity. And I'm going to make a video going more in depth on what I think of skills. They've continually downgraded the usefulness of actually having a full skill build. This does not help skill builds. This helps everyone, right? By boosting mods, all you did was give everyone a boost. It's not like you get an exponential boost for having 3,000 skill power as you do for 1,000. The mods are all scaled to the same. 100 skill power, you get 10% damage. Well, that's the same for 1,000 as it is for 3,000. It's not really like a super, you invest 3,000 so you get a huge bonus. No, you can't really invest into anything different than what you already could. So there's no real nuance to skill builds anymore. It's basically just invest in damage and that's it. The cooldown reduction works in a wonky way now, so you don't reduce your cooldown by half every time you get so much. You could put 100 skill haste, 100% skill haste on a mod onto your 20-second cooldown skill, and it only takes off like 4 seconds. It's just having a full skill cooldown reduction build without mods. It's not really that beneficial. I mean, most of my skills were really low before. Now they're not. So it's not really worth it for me. As far as it's not an upgrade for me or for my build. If I wanted to lower the cooldowns, I could. I just don't have any interest at this point. They're not the benefit for it is not there. I could get a let's just say like a 25% damage boost by investing into skill cooldown, right? Because I take 25% of my cooldown off. So if it goes from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. Or I could use that exact same mod to put 100 or 200% damage on. Well, the choice is pretty clear then. Skill cooldown does not equate to the same, damage potential as these mods do. It's not really worth it. Which basically goes back to the point is all this is a skill damage buff and nothing else. Like they didn't really improve any aspects of anything else. They nerfed status effects. Status effect duration has been right. I mean, status effects were already trash. With the one exception that was being used was the blind drone or the blind firefly that actually started to see use, and I had a build specifically designed for it, and it was a fun build. I mean, it wasn't very effective in battle. I mean, I wasn't like KD champ because of the build, but it was just funny and entertaining to use. That same exact build has basically seen my blind duration reduced by 70-80% of my duration, something like that. It's terrible. So now my duration's crap. And generally you have people running, at 1 or 2 pieces of hazard protection anyway, or at least 30% just from Murakami and Gilligard. So, I mean, that's 30%. And then basically you're reducing any of these status effects to 1 or 2 seconds. I mean, why? They're not good. Like, status effects in this game are broken, and they should have gone into doing something with fixing them. They didn't. They boosted the damage, and they said, okay, well, you've got some damage now. The play and counterplay with skills is just not there. It's not fun. It's not interesting. They didn't improve anything. And I'm going to go piece by piece into another video, so look out for that one if you actually have, I guess, an interest in hearing why skills and, I guess, the spirit of skills, as far as my opinion, are not very good. Many of us were already using skills, I don't want to say as effectively as gun builds, but we were, getting by in PvE content. All this really did was make it stupid proof, and that's not the fun of it. Like you shouldn't just slap on like this and this and be like, oh, yep, my skills now work. Building into skills should require some sort of building into skills. Like this it's just no brainer. All the durations, all the duration for the actual skills themselves have been increased so much you don't need to invest into actual skill duration. Health was never really an issue, so it doesn't matter if they lowered the health because who cares? All the cooldowns have been reduced for non-skill builds. Yeah, I mean, if you want to have a 5-second seeker, have a 5-second seeker, that's fine. It's not good. And if you think it's good, I'm sorry, you're probably not a very good skill build. But it's not effective. Because guess what? You're reducing your cooldown by 5 seconds. But the travel time and the activation time and all that stuff is still the same. So you're only gaining like maybe 20 to 30% uptime. But you're probably losing 200% damage, if not more. Increasing your uptime by 20 to 30%, but losing 200% damage, it's not good. And you're going to have to spend that much more time just throwing a skill over and over again. Like, is that fun? I mean, honestly, is that fun to you? Like, just you throw the same skill every 2 seconds, every 3 seconds. I don't know. Whatever. That just goes into the fact that the skills are even lazier and more Barney proof. And the devs apparently just don't get why I don't like the skills, right? They don't understand the basic concept behind why skills in this game aren't very fun, and they don't understand why this game itself apparently is kind of not very fun. And I mean, yeah, there's plenty of people who love it, and if you're one of the people, I'm glad you enjoy it. But at the end of the day, if you do not understand that the game could be better, and maybe you would want it to be better, and I mean, you all paid for it, so it should be better. If you don't understand those basic concepts, there's nothing that I can do to convince you, because that's just stupid. Like, you should never want it to be okay enough. You don't want okay. You want good. You want better. You want best. You want to pay for a product that actually feels like it earned your money. And yes, and certainly this game has a lot of time vampireness to it, and it can suck out the life from people just by grinding for stupid things. But grinding for stupid things does not equal value. Is the game actually by itself a value? If there wasn't any grind to it, how long of playtime would you have? Right? If you just removed the arbitrary grind, how much playtime in this game would you have? Probably nowhere near as much. And yes, before you say like, well, it's a looter, it's supposed to be like that. I know it's a looter, it's supposed to be like grindy. But a well-made looter would still inspire you to play it without grind, right? If a game was good, you would play it, not just because there was stupid incremental bumps to get. That is the Division's problem. Outside of the grind, there is no reason to keep playing this game.